Robots and automation, Social Security and Medicare, it all ties together. This is fascinating. Leave your comments and don't forget to subscribe. In Georgia, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hey, Khanna, it's really an honor to be speaking with you. First, I want to thank you for giving a light boating speech for Bernie Sanders in one of his rallies. You were like the AOC. A lot of people don't know, but you were like the AOC before AOC was AOC. But my question is, what can we expect to see forth in the Green New Deal? Because with my job, I'm in the trucking industry, and autonomous trucks are already hitting the road on I-10. So, and I don't see too many. I see some politicians, you guys like you and AOC and Andrew Yang, but is there going to be anything to help out our industry along with other industries that might be dying away due to this technology? Because when manufacturing left Detroit, we know what happened there.
Well, sir, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you raising this issue. We need to have first thoughtful regulation and safety regulation. In my view, as we move towards autonomous vehicles, that doesn't mean we won't still need someone in a truck, particularly to manage the loading and offloading, even if it's being done by a robot, and to make sure that the truck is not malfunctioning. For example, we're on an airplane. When you fly, a lot of the landing and takeoff is automatic. I still am very grateful that we have a pilot there. So I think having safety regulation is important. Second, I think we have to really think about, well, what type of jobs are still going to be available in trucking, and we'll see that some of the long-haul trucking may be most automated, but they're not going to be able to automate or we're a long, long way off from them being able to automate delivery into neighborhoods and the last few miles of trucking. And so I think we have to be preparing people also for the positions that are going to be most needed. But unfortunately, Congress hasn't been really thinking long-term about the regulations and the strategy that's going to be needed.
Naugatuck, Connecticut. Am I saying that right, David?
Yes.
You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, Congressman Khanna, and thank you for serving in Congress.
Thank you.
Your explanation a couple weeks ago about the Microsoft trust busting 20 years ago has motivated my call today, because I think you're one of the smartest people in Congress. President FDR said when he passed Social Security that it was aggressive tax on labor, but he did it for political reasons. Today, if you count FICA, Medicare, and state and workman's comp and all that, labor is taxed at 10%. Well, a machine you don't even have to pay for with depreciation rules for a year and a half. It just doesn't seem to me that with mechanization, AI, and automation coming online, that workers should be more expensive than machines.
Well, I appreciate it. I didn't catch your name, sir, but I appreciate your point very, very much, because you're absolutely right. Our tax code right now is favoring capital expenditure over human expenditure, and at a time when we should be doing exactly the opposite, where you have automation and the returns of capital are higher than ever. Why is it that, as you point out, we have tax breaks for depreciation, but we don't have tax incentives for corporations to invest in the education or workforce development or child care of their employees? It's a total misalignment of incentives favoring capital over labor. And your point on the Microsoft case, I mean, that's a case where I tell people, if you wouldn't have had Google if you didn't have the Microsoft antitrust case. Microsoft, very simply put, basically wanted everyone in this country to use Internet Explorer as a web browser. And if they had done that, and if you didn't have Netscape and other competing web browsers, the next step would have been that every web browser would have had Bing search in it. And all of us would have been using a computer that had Windows, Internet Explorer as our browser, and Bing search. And you would never have had Google. But Joe Klein and the antitrust division said, you can't do that, Microsoft. You can't force people to buy a particular browser just because they're buying your Windows. And we need now to make sure that for the new startups that you don't have companies being able to privilege their own platforms, and that requires strong antitrust enforcement.
I think it was David stimulated a thought in my mind, if you've got a factory with 100 employees and you bring in a robot to do the work of 10 of them,
right?
You now have 10 fewer people paying into Medicare and Social Security. Why not have the robot pay 10 times every year what those people would have paid into Medicare and Social Security?
Well, it's not just you, Tom, or David who has that idea. Bill Gates has said that we ought to be taxing robots at some level, which makes up for that kind of expense. And I don't know what the appropriate level is, but one can make an argument, and certainly one should make an argument that you shouldn't get a depreciation for the robot. I mean, the irony right now is if you bring in a robot to replace people, you could probably write that off as a sort of a capital expenditure where you don't get that incentive for any investment in workers.